Well,
Yeah.
welcome to my opera house. I'm so excited to have you here today, Joseph, because as I said, I've admired you for quite a while. Your voice is one of the most unique among the tenors today, and so I was very pleased to be able to speak with you because, like I said, I first debuted your album when you debuted your album. I put it on iTunes. That's where I used to work,
Okay.
and at the time, everyone at iTunes went crazy for it. And it was interesting because people were like, "Well, he sounds like Pavarotti. He sounds like Pavarotti." And I said, I know, he does sound like Pavarotti, but he's from Malta, not from Italy."
Yep.
Because you have to make these
Yep.
distinctions, you know. And of course, one of the things in America is that nobody knows where Malta is. Well, I do. It's an ancient kingdom, and you, as one of its celebrity citizens, get to enjoy, quite a bit of what Malta has to offer. It's an amazing country, and you grew up there. That you started singing as a young man in Malta. What was that? What was that like? Were people like excited that you were a singer? Where was your grandmother like cock a hoops? She's like, "Oh my gosh, my little bambino, he sings," or I don't know what they say in Malta for baby, but but what was that like for you?
I mean, it's I was my mother were from a came from a big family of 12 children, 9 boys and 3 girls,
Wow.
and when she was pregnant with me, I was born on Sunday on 22nd January 1978. I was born in a private hospital run by sisters, like Catholic sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And when the nurse told her I was a boy, she didn't know what they were gonna have back then. Oh, she said, "Can I change him to a girl?" And the sister told her, "But why? How many children have you got?" "Oh, he's my first." "Oh, shame on you. You don't want your first." My mom is we have very dark sense of humor in the family. And my mom said, "Well, um, I come from a family of 12 and 3 girls and 9 boys. I'm tired of seeing penises." But I also was and I'm giving this background because I was the first cousin from both sides of my father's family and from my mother's family. And after me, about 38 cousins were born after me. So I was everywhere, everywhere I went. I was always the toast of the party because I was the first kid. But by the time you have not cousin number 4, nobody cares anymore. You don't care about their name. So you mentioned my grandmother. You coincidentally hit a point. She did have a voice that she used to use in church. She
Oh wow.
never studied opera. She never, but people would say that she had a really beautiful voice. And once I heard my father sing. He had a beautiful baritone voice, but he was shy. He only once did I hear him, and something came out immediately. So he had something innate. So yeah, I mean, probably there's something genetically there. But how was it? We always downplayed stuff in my family. I mean, I was never really treated like, I mean, people understood I did something unorthodox by studying voice, because in my time I was one of the very, very first, and then um, people like took it within their strides very, very quickly. I mean, so my father was proud. Unfortunately, he passed away quite soon after I started singing, but he was very proud. My mother always sort of looked at it with a mixture of, uh, wariness, because she didn't quite understand the world. And in fairness, the only people who understand this world are the people who do it. No one else understands that you can't party, even simple things like having a beer, or having a smoke, or even talking for too long, or doing or eating certain foods. Nobody, maybe athletes understand, because we are athletes of the voice, but not just the voice. You have to be physically fit. You have to have, your cardiovascular health has to be good, because I mean, long term it doesn't pay. So yeah, that was pretty much it. So I had I know it's an oxymoron, but it's a normal, unorthodox upbringing from the age of 15 onwards when I started.
Even though you were singing, because you started really early. I mean, 99, but you were in operalia, and you were not even 20 years old yet, right? um so that's pretty young, to be singing, Tombe degli avi miei, all the
Yeah,
big repertoire,
yeah,
so you kind of had an earlier kind of jump to that. I saw that you did a lot of roles in your 20s and
yeah.
so on and so forth. Do you think that's because of your passion, or do you think that people were just hungry for your voice?
It's a bit of, I think it's a bit of everything.
Mm.
I think it's a bit of everything. So, um, uh, I developed early. I found a good teacher early, so I was lucky a bit there as well. I looked a bit older than my years, which helped. I was tall. I was over 6 feet 2. So everything sort of helped. With that, would I go back and not rush so much? Probably I would. But then people were pushing me to do stuff. And you of course I said no a lot, but there is an amount of no that you can say before you start pissing people off. To be quite frank, uh,
Oh, they
thankfully
they
thankfully
start.
what I did I did not. I'm probably the youngest classical vocal signing for tenors in history. I think I signed at the age of 23. It means nothing. It's just a date. It's just a fact. It doesn't mean I'm better than the ones that preceded me or the ones that are gonna come after me. But it's
Mhm.
just to testament to how fast things were. And opera back then was different as well. There was still much more interest at the time. I mean, today this interest is waning. With the mainstream media has really all but forgotten opera. I mean, in the times of Luciano, Placido, they were on the Tonight Show, they were in The Simpsons, they were in, this nowadays these things are unheard of. So I've also seen the opera world changed throughout the years a lot.
It's been a tough 20 years. I'll have to say the last 20 years in particular, because all the money has dried up, or they only do a few productions. It was really, I worked on Terence Blanchard's Champion, and getting his operas to the Met was very, very difficult. Uh, you
Yeah,
the place had been open for over 100 years, and they'd never had an African American opera. So
yeah,
that's where we're at, pulling history. But also, things are starting to change in terms of intimacy too. Like, people are doing more live streaming, which helps, bolster the opera house. And then these great concerts, like the one that you're doing here in Santa Monica,
yeah,
at Broad Stage. People
yeah,
love that kind of thing because they get to hear you in musical comedy, they get to hear you in popular song, so it helps them. It kind of opens that door to a deeper understanding of maybe what opera is, right?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yes.
Do you enjoy those? I mean, those concerts are great. I mean, look at all the stuff for the Santa Monica concert, like Matinata, a little Ombra My Fu, So
Yeah,
you're kind of, I can see you're having a good time with that
absolutely.
concert.
Yes, yes,
Because you're starting out very serious with Le Cid.
yes,
I was like, wow, okay, that's like, the French Pagliacci here, you know.
yes,
So I
yes.
was like, I was really impressed by that. But then, of course, the light stuff, and then you're closing with show tunes like Maria and
Yeah.
Tonight and stuff like that. Do you like singing those kind of big Broadway pieces?
I mean, I wanted to come here and do something I haven't done before in LA. I've sung opera in LA. I've done the big aria concert already, and then I thought, why not sort of feature part of the program on my sorry, not second album, fifth album or sixth album with Decca, which was the
Mm-hmm.
Magic of Mantovani, where we did, the and
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is that these songs are not someone like arias. They're not easy to sing. For example, the song Charmaine that Mantovani wrote. I mean it's not in the program, but when I say Jesus Christ, this song is hard because it goes up to a B natural, and you gotta you have one voice, and you modulate differently a little bit, but you're singing basically with the same throat, same muscles. You can change like cartridges voices, and put one instead of the other. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's, and of course, but people, I'm an opera singer first and foremost, so people want to hear that. There's no doubt about that. So that's why I start with opera, but then it's also fun to explore other avenues that here in Santa Monica they haven't heard me yet.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just, I was just doing a big operatic comparison because,
Mm.
Kaufman did Maria on his Verona
Yes,
showcase, so
yes.
I'm glad to see that piece come up because it has a beautiful, B flat in it and
Oh, it's
everything.
wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a
Yeah,
great romantic piece,
yeah,
so it's nice to see those pieces come up because I think those do become gateways back to the opera. I see the U.S. kind of going the way of Britain a little bit, and we're going to get really pop and crazy like they have been. But I think that people are coming back to the opera house too, because finally people are starting to have better ideas about how to do productions and putting them in exotic locations and having fun with
yes,
them, right? You know,
yes,
uh,
absolutely.
so I wanted to ask you, you're kind of at a great point in your career. You're like, you're in the 40 zone, which I appreciated. I was an opera singer too myself. I studied with Giorgio Tozzi and James
Oh,
King.
wow, wow, okay.
Yeah, voices from the
Both,
past, right?
both giant singers.
Amazing singers, amazing
Yeah.
teachers, but I noticed in my 40s that my voice got really stable. And as I was pushing 50, I'm 60 now, but as I was pushing 50, my voice started to get this high notes were all of a sudden easy. I had no passaggio, throat closing going on, and so, as you look forward, kind of to what are really the opera golden years,
Yeah.
are you kind of looking forward to new roles or new operatic experiences that you haven't yet done?
I mean, absolutely. I have new stuff coming up, like Aida, Trovatore. I mean, in future seasons, and whilst retaining things like La Boheme, like Tosca, etc., etc. But yeah, but I mean, as a tenor, the voice does stabilize. You're absolutely right, but you always need to keep a step forward in the sense, because I mean, this is the most unnatural of voices. Even though I was born with a natural voice, but it is not the natural men's sound. The natural men's sound is is baritone or bass baritone. That's where it lies.
Mhm.
Whereas soprano, of course, the natural voice is soprano. So a tenor has always to tame this wild beast, which he has in his throat, because the tightrope antics that the voice is subjected to, it can be challenging, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I've always admired your top facility because it's very easy. There's
Sometimes.
right, a proviso.
Yeah.
But no, I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many tenors that rely entirely upon squillo, to get them into the upper echelons, and that's not something I hear in your voice that I enjoy. Right? It's like passaggio to A flat is always the most gentle in your voice, and I enjoy that because so much of the repertoire is written towards that. Like in Puccini, you kind of stand out more than say the ones who sing it full volume all the way through,
Yeah.
because there's more nuance going on. Is that something that that you like to think about when you do a Puccini piece, or a Puccini role? Is kind of like what there's sensitivities in these characters that can always be brought out more in the text and in the phraseology.
I think it's the nature of my voice, and as well that if you belt everything out all the time, it's not good for your throat. So I think that my teacher always used to tell me, approach every single opera like a bel canto role, and there is truth in that.
Yeah.
There's lots of truth in that, and I think that that's what I aim to do. Of course, I have my bad nights. Of course, people have their health issues and stuff like that. But it's I always made it a point to, as much as possible, bring out the beauty of the tone, and bring out the nuance and the expression and the legato, whether you're singing Puccini or you're singing Massenet or you're singing Verdi. At the end of the day, they all emanate from the same two vocal cords.
These little teeny undulating fibers,
Yeah.
right, that carry all
Exactly.
this tremendous sound. When you said legato, that really struck with me, because that's one of the things that I miss a lot of in today's singing. And because the idea of what legato truly is, it's a bridge, it's a stair step. You're adding one note to the rest. You're not breaking the legato apart. And I think that concept of legato is very lost today. I don't hear a lot of legato. I'll hear it like in the famous phrases where legato is necessary, but in the in the recitatives, in the smaller parts, in the conversations, legato should still always be there. And it sounds like that's a very important aspect to your voice, to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. That's always important for me to retain, as I said before, that kind of legato and that kind of musicianship. Absolutely.
Now, if there was a dream role that you could do, for me it was Otello. I always dreamed of singing Otello. I never did. I sang the aria, but that was about it. Is that a bigger, hefty role like that?
Definitely one of my dream roles. But let's see if it happens. Let's see if the voice matures enough, and if I'll be in a situation where I'll be able to sing it.
That's wonderful. I would love to hear it. Now, you you mentioned you're doing Trovatore. Now, you've done Trovatore a few times before.
Not in performance. No, never.
No, so just on recording.
Just on record. Yeah.
Wow. So that must be that's one of those exciting heavy lift roles. Yeah. You must be excited about that, because there's so many beautiful duets and trios. I mean, the arias are great. Di quella pira, yay, and all, and we love that stuff. But in Trovatore, it has the beginnings of kind of some of that great Verdi middle period where the people are really talking, like a nostri monti, with singing, trying to comfort your mother and stuff like that. To me, this would be perfect in some ways, for your sound. How do you feel about those aspects of that opera, Trovatore?
I mean, Verdi wrote that Trovatore, Traviata, and Rigoletto, I think, was the other opera where it is the same tenor. Now, he said that when the diapason was 435, 432, sometimes was really low, the A natural. He also said it when the orchestras were much lighter in sound and much smaller in size, and theaters were smaller in size. So, but that's the elements. Of course, today when you have modern instruments, when you have big sounds and and iron strings, synthetic strings, and with singing singing a semitone up, everything a semitone up. Some places like Vienna, you sing almost a tone up, because in Vienna they tune 444 and it goes almost 448 when the instruments warm up. So it's hard. It's hard because today as well, there's incredible scrutiny on the singer. Everybody's pirate recording every performance. A friend of mine bought a vast collection of original letters of Enrico Caruso. I'm talking about to and fro, intimate letters with his wife. He's telling her what he's doing, etc., etc. And in some letters, he writes to her, I cracked 4 times today, and the audience didn't care. And this happened more than once. Or for example, one of the letters, this is the original with the envelope with sometimes rose petals inside, intimate stuff, hotel bills. I would spend hours with my friend James Drake. We have a trust together he launched this trust in the UK. We've helped mostly him, hundreds, if not thousands, of singers by now, of artists, because it's not just singers, it's also instrumentalists, etc., etc. And opera has changed a lot, and today every single time, whether you sing in a small theater, whether you sing at the Met, you're almost exposed in the same way. So So I do believe that today it's harder to be an opera singer. It's because there's so much scrutiny, and your every single performance is judged. It's wrote about. It's on YouTube. It's on all the different social media. It's hard. Back then, if you had a bad night, you had it at one theater, and by the time news traveled, maybe that you had a bad night, you would have recovered and sung great in some other theater, canceling it out, so to speak. Today, that is over. I mean, today you have idiots online, that say that, opera singers today sing with microphones and all these stupid and silly paranoid conspiracy. Of course,
it's a sickness.
in 26 years, and people, doing stupid YouTube videos and getting one of the worst performance of a singer, even if it's Pavarotti or with someone great, and attack that person on that one performance where he was maybe a bit under the weather. I mean, this is incredibly, it's for young singers especially, because I think for seasoned artists like myself, we have a thick skin. We don't even register it anymore.
Right,
But for
right.
young artists coming up, I can see it being a problem, so to speak.
Well, it's funny that you would mention that, because one of the series that I do on YouTube is I actually compare great performances.
Yeah.
Because I think the great performances are where we need to focus. Like Pavarotti and Kaufman, both singing, Cello e Mar. They have different approaches. They sing it completely differently, but by putting them back to back, it forces the audience to realize that. And so I've been having a lot of fun with those videos, because some of them, Nessun Dorma is up there in the 100,000s, of course, but I do it with all of them. Vesti la Giubba, Corelli versus a modern singer. I've got you in there with Recondita Armonia. I've just got all these kind of real cool juxtapositions of great voices, not the nere perle. Who cares about people have bad nights,
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's not about, sometimes the perle can be funny when it's done in a fun spirit. It's almost fine, we ourselves, sometimes we listen to our recordings, oh my God, look at that train wreck, but
yeah.
when the problem is not focusing on that, the problem is when you say that that's all a singer has produced. That is the problem. When you have these fanatics that this negative fanatics. I mean, mostly, unfortunately, frustrated singers that say that an artist has only produced that. That is where I have a problem. Putting online something, some under the weather performances that can almost be funny if you acknowledge. If you do it in the spirit, even great artists, even great singers can have a bad night. That's fine. But when you just say all the singer did was this, that I think then it becomes vexatious and malicious, in my opinion.
It is, because that's not what the art form is about. The art form is really a form of expression of a high level. So it's like really important for people to see that. And so I always want to bring that to them, especially when they come to America. I think everyone in Santa Monica is going to be very excited. I noticed that Kamal Khan is playing for you, who is an old colleague of mine, back from New York days, and
one of the best orchestra players, I call them. Pianists like that are not pianists, they're one-man orchestras, because they make the piano sound like it has 65 members instead of just two hands.
That's right. It's like Kamal knows. He knows where the bass is and the timpani and the little flute parts, and he'll add those too. I remember that from back in the day, that he would add important parts. So you've got good company in this concert. I'm very excited. So what would you say, your biggest operatic influences from the past were? Was there, people have compared you to like a Gigli, and Pavarotti. Are there singers from the past that you emulate or really appreciate their talents?
With my teacher, Paul Ashak, we spent days, thousands of hours listening to great tenors from the past.
Wow.
We could take 6 hours to discuss all of them. The key ones are Tito Schipa, Aureliano Pertile, Jussi Björling, Gigli, you're right, Di Stefano, especially in his early years, Luciano, as well in his early years. Placido, for interpretation, especially of his things like Carmen and stuff like that. I mean, he was unequal there. So there are almost too many to mention. Lauri Volpi is another one. So
Yeah.
you know, Nino Bonci was another one that we heard a lot. People who knew how to sing, people who sang, people who used the phrase, people who didn't bawl, didn't shout, didn't use this guttural throat approach, and people who sang on the breath. I mean, if you take every single tenor from Del Monaco, from anyone, you know, I mean, in my opinion, Del Monaco and Jussi Björling sing the same. You tell me, well, what is that blasphemy? They do. The approach is similar. Del Monaco never darkens the voice. Even when he speaks like this all the time. You know, you know, he almost
Hmm.
exaggerates his diction and then even it is clear. It's the voice that is a
Yeah.
brass instrument coated and gilded with gold. It's the voice that is dark and meaty, and you know, I don't know. I'm running out of compliments for Del Monaco for his incredible voice, for example, but his
Hmm.
approach is light. And people who say Del Monaco just pushed, for example, they don't have the Ballo Mascara, or they didn't listen to the Ballo Mascara. I think it was from 46. I stand to be corrected. I know it was from Geneve. His
Mm.
voice is almost unrecognizable as Ricardo. He sings so light, he sings so much with pathos. And his
Yeah.
early Othellos, especially before he got into it, I think he had a car accident, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
His, you know, Dio mi poteva scagliare, the first, you know, he sings almost 3/4 of the aria in a piano mezza voce tone, and then he opens up for this incredible climax.
Yeah.
So you know, I do believe that all these great singers of the past all approached operas with a bel canto setting in their head.
That's right.
Of course, there were some different approaches. I mean, I know that Melocchi, I've heard him once in an interview in Italian that he focused a lot on the arytenoids to strengthen by,
Mm.
and Del Monaco says, listen, I took what's good from that, and I threw away the rest, because you know, he said, I saw so many other colleagues that he was studying with ruining their voices because of that approach. So he was smart. He took what he wanted from that, but he didn't adopt it to the full, like his teacher was telling him.
That's right.
If I remember his interview well. And you know, but you have to have the talent. This is a cruel thing. Or I mean, voice opera singing is a cruel thing, because you have to have the talent. No amount of technique, no amount of reading books, no amount of breathing exercises. If you don't have the raw material, you can't shape it. You can if you have the raw material, and it's a diamond in the rough. You can shape it. You can and you have to study so much, but the talent has to be there. Ergo, if you're 18 years old and you're slim and you're athletic and you like tennis, right? You
Hmm.
might be a good tennis player to play in the weekend with friends, an amateur maybe, but you know, only a man with massive talent will become Roger Federer, Nikola Djokovic. You know,
Yeah.
only the people who have something in their genes that makes them predisposed to excel at that sport. I'm not saying that talent is enough or that it's the all and end all, but you have to have a starting point. You have to have something to be world class. You have to have something which is either genetics, it's in your blood, it's in your family, or you know, sometimes a fluke of nature.
I think the fluke of nature, because you have to be discovered too. Because there are people with operatic voices, nobody ever hears them sing. You know, we could be losing singers left and right and never even know it.
You're absolutely right. But I think when you have such a talent in whatever discipline you are, it finds you. It makes you find it. It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, you know, I didn't come from a musical family, and I found my love for singing by the age of 3. Yeah, I know I've been singing in church choirs, school choirs, Gregorian chant, rock band
Hmm.
later on. You know, I always sang. You know, I've sung everything I heard. I sang. You know, was like a one of these parrots. You know, that repeat everything they sing. So if you have a talent, it will. I think I truly, there are exceptions, I'm sure, but I think if you have a really major talent in any discipline, I think that it will somehow find you. Of course, if you are in a third world country with no access to stuff, then of course there, yes, there will probably be losing talent, or one of these war-torn countries now that we're surrounded with, from the Middle East to Ukraine and all, to Africa and to Syria and to Yemen and to, all these. There, yes, I'm sure that we're losing loads of talent and from all the different disciplines.
Well, hopefully in the trenches and in these dark corners, people are still singing hope, singing praise, singing for joy, at least in their hearts.
Absolutely.
In the worst parts of life, in the worst moments, singing can be a great comfort. Sometimes I just even hold myself and hum when I feel particularly bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'm very excited that you're coming to Santa Monica. I can't wait to tell everyone that you're coming because I know who you are. And so I'm gonna start posting about it all this week because I want people to get those single tickets out to see you in your amazing concert. Like I said, you're singing everything from hardcore opera to show tunes, with the great Kamal Khan and Montevani. So I think it's going to be a great concert, and I hope that everyone will come out. If there's anything you could tell people before they come to the concert, what would you tell them?
Come, leave your problems and daily routines and just enjoy. Let yourself be transported for an odd 2 hours.
That's right. Just forget, sit back, let Joseph take care of you. He's been singing his whole life and he'll take very good care of you, won't you?
Brilliant.
I'm trying to make you blush, and I think I succeeded.
Absolutely.
Well, bravo. I just, in Bocca di Lupo, any charms I can send your way. I wish I was going to be in the audience because I just really admire your voice. Next, you're at the Met next season.
I'm at the Met. I'm at this season. I'm at the Met this season. Yeah. I'll be there just after Christmas.
And is this the Norma or is this the?
No, this is La Bohème.
The Bohème.
There's La Bohème. Absolutely.
Well,
hope maybe to see you there.
I'm definitely coming. I'll send a message if I can. I would love to meet you in person, just to shake your hand.
With pleasure, Joe. With pleasure.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Have a great time. See you. Welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.